Day two of Major League Baseball's wild card round, and there were a few surprises that went down yesterday. But how are you going to be betting today's board? We're going to let you know. And we got three of the best here on an early edition, a rise and grind for a Wednesday. We got Bryan Power, Tokyo Brandon, and Jimmy Adams here to get you on the right side of the day two wild card games. All right, Brian, I'm going to start off with you. And the curse of Prez just continues. He's been bragging about his Jays, and all they do is give a team that hadn't won a playoff game since I was in grade school a win. So you want to look at Jays and Twins. Is it bounce back time for our friends up north, or are the Twins about to do another shocker?
Well, credit to the Twins. Yeah, they end an 18-game playoff losing streak. Of course, none of the players, on this team really figured much into the losing streak. So it's a whole different
Yeah.
team. Yesterday on the Power Five, I said the Blue Jays were a team I was buying on for the wild card round. I could see why a lot of people like the Jays. And them not having home field advantage in this series isn't that big of a deal. They scored more runs on the road during the regular season. Their non-division record, guys, was among the very best in all of baseball. If Toronto wasn't in the AL East, they would have had a much, much better record. So off the game one loss, Dan, you would think that based on what I just said, might be looking to jump on the Jays here at an underdog price. But the thing is, Sonny Gray, who gets the start for Minnesota in game two, has quietly been very good in 2023. The fact he is only 8-8 in his 32 starts, team record 14-18, that's really misleading because for the year, Gray, he's got a 2.74 ERA, 1.14 whip. His third best ERA, top 15 whip. He was really strong down the stretch with a 1.06 ERA and 0.76 whip his last three starts. So for a second straight game, guys, I think Toronto's likely to struggle to score runs. But the thing with Minnesota is they only had 5 hits themselves in game one. They face Barrios in game two, who was much better in 2023 than he was in 2022. He's quite familiar with pitching in this ballpark, spent 6 seasons with the Twins. You look at strikeout numbers, 184 in 189 and 2/3 innings for Barrios. And I expect Minnesota to struggle to make contact today. They did strike out 11 times in game one. So I'm going to look to play the under here, Dan. I think the key for Toronto is whether or not Barrios can keep the ball in the park. All 3 of the Twins' runs yesterday came on the 2 home runs by Lewis. The rest of the lineup, though, just 3 for 26. Once again, under would be my call for game 2 of Jays Twins.
Looking towards the under, and before the comments eviscerate me, yes, I am aware that the Twins were actually favorites yesterday, but when I get to start the show by ripping Prez, I'm never not going to do that. It's just what we are told to do. It's part of the script here behind the screens at First Pitch on WagerTalk TV. All right, Brandon, let's talk a little pitcher prop action here. Jimmy's going to be breaking this game down as well, but you want to take a look at Freddy Peralta on the bump in this D-backs and Brewers game. And I kind of joked about the shocker in that Twins game, but this kind of was the shocker of the day. It was the Diamondbacks getting to the Brewers. Brewers are going to now have to play without Woodruff, as we mentioned on the show yesterday. How do you see that affecting this game?
Yeah, another shockers. I think you were using Jose Bautista's picture for the Blue Jays in that graphic there. That kind of was a bit of a shocker for me as well. Maybe it wasn't him. It's someone who really looks like him. But yeah, I want to talk about Peralta here. Freddy Peralta has an amazing history against the Diamondbacks. And you guys know me. I've been doing these outs recorded over under props all season. And game one of these 3-game series is kind of a feel out period where managers were kind of pulling their pitches early, except for your Phillies, Dan. Wheeler went quite deep in that game yesterday, but for the most part, the other pitchers besides him and Montgomery went rather shallow into the game. People don't want to use their pitchers. They don't know, if they're going to advance or not. But now after game one, some teams have their backs against the wall, and the Brewers are one of those teams. This was quite a shocker because, frankly, in my opinion, I don't think the Diamondbacks belong in these playoffs. However, they did pull off an upset against a team that actually hits worse than them, the Brewers, and Peralta today. So I got an outs prop on him. I think the book has his outs recorded prop at 14.5, which means he's not going to finish 5 innings. But I beg to differ with that. I do think he's going to finish 5 innings here. for a couple of reasons. First of all, he averages 16 outs per start on the season. But that's one thing. But the amazing stat on him is he has a 336 OPS against Diamondbacks batters lifetime. Granted, it's only 22 at bats, but that's almost a full game. Diamondbacks hitters do not hit against Freddy Peralta, and I don't think they're going to tomorrow either. I think they're going to be leaving him in as long as possible because he's better than anyone in their bullpen. So I really like the Freddy Peralta over 14.5 outs recorded in this game. I don't know if the Brewers are going to win or not, but I do expect a low score. Frankly, I expected a low score yesterday, but they kind of exploded for 5 or 7 runs there in the first 5. However, I think it'll be a lot less scoring in today's game because we've got 2 really good pitchers. Peralta's history against the Diamondbacks is just amazing. He is quite a stud as far as going deep into games, and the Diamondbacks really don't have a good lineup. So I think he's going to go finish 5 innings, and that's the play that I put out on this one. So Freddy Peralta to get over 14.5 outs recorded in this game is available on DraftKings right now.
I like the breakdown there, and one that is widely available if you are outside of Las Vegas. But Jimmy Adams, you want to also talk about this game, talk a bit about a more traditional way to attack this one. D-backs and Brewers, you were talking before the show. You think this one might already be over? Does it end tonight, or do they at least stretch it to the 3 games? What do you think?
Well, I think the D-backs will be leading after 5 innings. How about that? So things didn't go
That's a
exactly as
better way to
planned
put
in
it.
game one for the yeah, things didn't go exactly as planned in game one for the Brewers behind some stellar defensive play for Arizona, along with some home runs. Those helped as well. D-backs now in great position to take this series with their ace taking the mound in Zach Gallen. And as you might expect, Gallen's had a fantastic season. He has a 3.27 FIP that's lower than his ERA and a WAR of 5.2. His pitching run value is as good as anyone in baseball, ranking in the 99th percentile. And just as important as all of that is the fact that he's had tremendous success against the Brewers this season. Gallen's faced the Brew Crew twice, throwing 7 innings in each. He's allowed a total of 1 run on 6 hits with 15 Ks in those 2 starts. And of course, he enters in great form as well, giving up just 2 runs over his final 2 regular season starts. So entering in great form, a great history against the Brewers this season. Offense is a major concern for the Brewers. They entered the playoffs with the worst WOBA of anyone at 309 and a WRC plus of just 92. So from a metrics perspective, Freddy Peralta, I agree a lot with what Brandon said. There's not a lot bad to say about Peralta. He's pretty solid overall with the metrics, but he did just give up 4 and 3 innings to the Marlins in his last start. He also hasn't pitched in 9 days, so we'll see how the time off affects his rhythm. Milwaukee is going to give it everything they've got, but this is a bet on Zach Gallen and the D-backs in the first 5. That'll be my recommendation.
Muted, Dan.
Yeah, it helps if I'm not muted, gentlemen. It's early in the morning, and it's only day 2 of the wild card. By NLCS, I'll have it figured out where my mute button is there. So there's the breakdowns for you from the guys. Let us know in the comments below what game you are eyeing tonight. Regretfully, the gentlemen are not speaking about my Philadelphia Phillies, probably because they're in awe of what they did at Citizens Bank Park yesterday. So I'll think up something to give you in the Phillies game before we're out. But Bryan, let's swing it back up to you. Talk Rays and Rangers. Rays laying a decent price here. You think it's the juice maybe worth the squeeze as they're taking on the Rangers here in game 2?
Well, Dan, I take no pleasure in reporting that I had the Rays yesterday. A total no-show effort from them. There are 2 things I clearly overestimated heading into game 1. One was thinking Texas would be in somewhat of a fragile mental state. They blow the AL West pennant on the final day of the regular season. I thought coming off a loss like that, having to face a team like Tampa Bay, it wasn't a good spot, but credit the Rangers. They came out swinging. They were the hungrier team. The second thing I kind of overestimated was the Rays' home field advantage. While it's true that they tied for the best home record in all of baseball during the regular season, they only had 19,000 fans show up, Dan. I mean, as a Phillies fan, imagine only 19,000 people in Philadelphia showing up for a playoff game. It's just not really a good look. More people should be able to get off work, I think, for a playoff game. But we shall see if there's more people at the ballpark today. I also underestimated Jordan Montgomery, the Rangers game one starter. He outdueled Tyler Glasnow, tossed 7 shutout innings of 6 hit ball. That all being said, we're going to run it back here with the Rays because of one thing. They have a much clearer edge in the game 2 starting pitching matchup with Zach Eflin opposing Nathan Eovaldi. The Rays, they've not only won Eflin's last 6 starts, they've won 23 of his 31 this year, including 14-4 at home. Eflin has allowed 3 runs or less in 8 straight outings and really fine form coming into the postseason. .76 whip his last 3. And then you've got Eovaldi, who really struggled after coming back from the IL in September. 6 starts, 9.30 ERA, allowed 7 runs his last time out in just 3 1/3. And it's not just the starting pitching edge, Dan. And this is where we didn't get to see this in game 1 because the Rangers took the early lead. The Rays have a substantial bullpen edge in this series. So if I'm right here and Eflin is able to outduel Eovaldi, it's going to carry through the late innings. The Rays should be able to hold on to the lead. 6 errors yesterday, obviously disgusting from the Rays. That's not going to happen again. Rays have a better WRC plus compared to the Rangers. Believe it or not, these are 2 great offensive teams, but the Rays tend to hit very well at home. Yesterday aside, and the playoffs aside, the key to this whole thing is Tampa Bay's mental state. They've scored 1 run now in their last 33 postseason innings. It's tough to win when you do that, but I think they wake up today against Eovaldi and a questionable Rangers bullpen. Texas, by the way, they didn't do a ton of scoring yesterday. They average a full run less per game on the road versus at home. So let's run it back, Dan. Tampa Bay, game 2. It's a high price, but it's worth it. That is today's best bet.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, even though it was broke yesterday. But Brian Power says they fixed it and they're going to get it done. Rays over the Rangers. You agree or disagree? Hop below in the comments and let us know. And once the show is done, make sure you head on over to WagerTalk. We have a couple of great deals to give you, one of which is using code POWER7. Head on over to Brian Power's page, wt.buzz/BP, and use code POWER7, 7-day all access for just $79. So check that out. And Tokyo Brandon, you got a 4% rockin' here for tonight that people can grab right now over at your page. You also have another pitcher prop you want to drop for us here in the best bet segment. What are you eyeing here?
I do, and I like what Brian said about Sonny Gray earlier. It's amazing how getting out of New York can improve your pitching. So Sonny Gray, since he left the Yankees, he's been like a top 5 MLB pitcher. But I want to talk about another pitcher in this series, which is Jose Barrios for Toronto. So I do have a 4% play out today in MLB, and it's not a pitcher prop. It's actually a money line play. You can grab that at my page at WagerTalk.com. This is also a client play that I put out earlier right before the show. But Jose Barrios, amazingly, he gets a bad rap. He doesn't really have a good reputation as being a stud pitcher, but he goes really deep into his games. On the season, he's averaging 18.2 outs, which is he's pitching past the 6th inning on average in his starts. And the prop on him right now is 14.5 outs, which means will he or will he not finish the 5th inning? Well, he's finished 5 innings in 9 starts in a row, and he's actually done it in 16 of his last 17 starts. He's an Iron Man, and I don't understand why this prop is this low. I'm going to go with the Jose Barrios over 14.5. Another reason why I like it is because against Minnesota, he has a lifetime OPS against of 516. So he's held them down pretty well. And if you look at Minnesota, the way they hit, they do have a lot of home runs, but their team batting average is only 240, really low, which means if you don't give them long balls, you can hold this team down. And Jose Barrios has been doing that throughout his career. I like the over 14.5 outs recorded. And again, this is similar to my last breakdown, but the Blue Jays have their backs against the walls. They're not going to risk taking Jose Barrios out for an iffy relief pitcher. They're going to leave him in as long as they can if the game is tight. And I don't see this being like a 3-0 or 4-0 game after 5 innings. I see this as being a pretty tight game. Matter of fact, I think the Blue Jays will probably win it. That's not an official play, but I do like Barrios to go at least 5 innings in this one. So Jose Barrios over 14.5 innings is a client play that I put out, and that's going to be my best bet for this show.
Best bet, Barrios dropping down over the 14 outs recorded. That's Tokyo Brandon. Check him out. WT.buzz/TB. All right, Jimmy, you're going to get the final word. And this is the Twins and Blue Jays edition of First Pitch, because you also have a bet in this one. You're isolating the first 5. So what does the guy who's on a 14-1 all sports run think about this one?
Yeah, well, the Twins' lengthy losing streak came to an end yesterday, and it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. I mean, the Blue Jays have been great against lefties, but they've struggled for a long time against good right-handed pitching, and that's what they're going to get here again today. Sonny Gray, he just doesn't give up many runs. I mean, the guy has a 2.79 ERA on the season. In fact, Gray's given up more than 3 runs just one time in his last 13 starts. And in that start, he gave up 4. The guy, he just doesn't give up runs. He's also had success against Toronto this season, facing them back in June, allowing 1 run over 5. He's another arm that ranks in the 99th percentile in pitching run value, a pure bet-on pitcher. Call me crazy. I just don't trust Jose Barrios in the playoffs, especially in an elimination game. He's a pitcher that's wildly inconsistent, fresh off allowing 4 earned in back-to-back starts. Barrios has command issues. That was on full display when he faced the Twins earlier in the year. Somehow he didn't allow a run, but he walked 5 batters. A repeat performance of that is not going to go well. And some may be surprised to learn that the Twins were actually tied for 3rd in all of baseball in home runs this season. The Blue Jays have struggled against better teams in baseball all season long, teams with winning records. Today's going to be no different. I'm going to put my trust in Sonny Gray and recommend the Twins in the first 5 for today's best bet.
Looking towards the Twins in the first 5. That's Jimmy Adams. And he also has a code you can use, Jimmy7, and grab a week of his plays at just $79 over at WagerTalk.com. Hop below in the comments and let us know what your best bets are. Bryan Power going with the Rays over the Rangers money line play. Jimmy Adams there with the Twins first 5 over the Blue Jays. And Tokyo Brandon going with Barrios over the 14.5 outs recorded. All right, guys, I've been scouring here. So in this Phillies game, we got Nola and we got Braxton Garrett. And
I had to talk about the Phillies.
I know. Yeah, I have to. I have to at least give
Phillies.
something. As being a Philly fan, I know that it's never that easy. So what I'm going to do, maybe it's a bit of an emotional hedge. I think that Miami scores some runs tonight. I'm going to go with the team total over 3.5. My Phils can still get the win, but it might not come as easy as some would think. Nola, 12-9 in the season, 0-1 with a 5.47 ERA in his final 5 starts. He hasn't won a game since August. I don't know how deep he goes. I think he might get tagged early and have to leave the hill there. So we're going with the Marlins team total over 3.5. There you go. I told you I would throw in a Marlins Phillies breakdown. Hop below in the comments and be like, Dan, stop giving us plays. That was a terrible play. Leave it to the experts. What do you got, Brando?
If the Philadelphia Flyers could ever win a game, Philadelphia would actually have 4 good sports teams.
We're just catching stray bullets here on the way out. No one was even talking about the Flyers. We know they suck, Brandon. All right, that's Tokyo Brandon, Jimmy Adams, Bryan Power. Check him out at WagerTalk.com. And make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe. We'll be getting you ready to go all the way through the MLB playoffs. And we got plays in every sport you love. You know what we have here at Wager Talk TV. It's all the tools you need to bet all the sports you love, and they're just a click away. Best of luck tonight, everyone.